All right, it's time to start working on the foundation of the Lego X Mansion. Of course, I'm looking at the original because it's still intact here. Looks like the foundation uses a lot of the modified bricks with the forward-facing studs to put the tiles forward-facing around the foundation. You can see that right there. And then there's more 2x brick underneath, and then that is topped with plate. But the interesting thing is the walls are actually built on the foundation, not on top of like the plate. You see what I mean by that? You've got some bricks in there with the plate on top, but then the walls don't have that plate. So it's interesting because the walls are sort of separate from these plates. But yeah, I'm just going to try and replicate this design. Wherever we have these pillars, the bricks going to come one stud further out, and they're going to rest on the 1x1 tiles. It's going to have the forward-facing tiles, of course, around the foundation. Going to build the walls on top of those bricks. And then we'll have to put the plates on top of the bricks within the interior and tile top all of those plates. All right, so first things first, built the perimeter of the foundation. So the exterior walls are 2 bricks tall, and of course they have the modified bricks built into them, so we can put those tiles like that, and there's 1x tile running underneath up along the brick, and 2 bricks all the way along the back matches as well with those tiles, and then the interior is just going to be 1 brick and 1 plate on top. So the next thing we need to do is just put some 2x2 bricks in here, and literally like mill plate the interior. Another pad box down. Thank goodness I found those dark orange masonry bricks on the pad wall the other day, because they're coming in super handy today as we expand this X Mansion. So you can see the backside here. I still haven't ordered those reddish brown windows. I don't want to order those until I know exactly how many we need. Also those 1x2 modified plates with the slide or the rail. And the foundation is looking good back here as well, all consistent with those light gray tiles. So that's sweet. Swooping around the front here, we've got all the reddish brown windows allocated to the front, so that looks a little more consistent, and we actually ripped apart the X Mansion just to get all those windows. But we need like enough from 4 sets, probably more than that actually, because this essentially represents all of the windows from 1 set, and you can see that there's not even enough to complete it because there's one dark bluish gray one right over there. But I created the stairs. They just go up 1 plate and they go right to the front of the mills plate. But yeah, they go up 1 plate at a time, and they're tiled off there. And then I created this balcony. This balcony is larger than the original, so I actually changed it up and used some of these large curved plates, and then I had to extend it off the backside by 3 studs as well. There's another mess over here. This is what creativity looks like, right? Just parts everywhere. But this is the old balcony here. So it was that big, 6 studs, and ours is 12 studs, and a little bit deeper as well. And we've got those like supports coming up, so that worked out. And I love how they use the roller skates, so of course I'm sticking with that technique. See how the roller skates just sort of like grip on, and they actually match up perfectly with the curvature of the plate, so that's super satisfying. I love that. Now I'm using all masonry, so locking everything in isn't really an option. We're literally just using towers of masonry, but I'm going to lock them in at the top with the plate and also the tile that borders this whole thing. That's what I have to do next. And once I do that, we'll be able to place the other floors on top and see what it looks like. But I wanted to feature the math of these pillars. So they actually go right down and they sit on this pedestal, which is 1 brick, 1 plate, and 1 tile. And that sort of matches up nicely with the foundation. The foundation are the 2x4 tiles, at least that's what I'm calling it. After mills plating the interior, just using 1x2s, 2x2s, 4x6s, some 2x plate, just getting the math right, just like your standard mills plate, but a really like weird shape. We actually didn't mills plate this area, so I'm glad I did it in dark bluish gray for the like base foundation plate. But this is going to be where the danger room is going to go, and the original model features steps going down, so we wanted to keep that design. And I could rip out the plates over here if we do Cerebro in this room. If steps going down, then that would be pretty cool too. So it's just like elevated ground in the middle, but I could make that modification if we choose to put Cerebro here. I'm getting distracted. I was trying to feature the math of this, but We could do like a basement to this thing, but at this point that's not in the plan. Like I don't know where it's going to sit in the Lego city. And of course we could do a basement with Cerebro and the Danger Room because that's how it actually is in the movies and in the comic books. But I don't know if I'm going to get that extra with this thing, like right off the hop. Sure, it would be cool to do that in the future, but I really don't know if we're going to do that right away. But either way, after finishing the mills work inside, we had the light bluish gray like foundation going around the entire perimeter of the building. And then we were able to go around with our dark orange masonry brick and do an entire row of that. And then this is what sits in the corners. So it's one plate, then two of those modified bricks with the forward facing studs, then two more plates, then one brick, and then one more of those modified bricks. I'll just call them snot bricks for ease purposes. And that sits on top of the masonry brick, on top of the light bluish gray. And then we're able to add these things. We can actually add 3 of them. And that brings us up over our masonry brick. But I can lock that in place with a 1x2 masonry. And now it's all sort of loose. So now I'm just going to go around with plate. So I'll do a whole row of plate and just whatever random size I have. Hopefully I have enough. And of course that's in the dark orange color as well. And then finally I'll go around with tile, 1x tile, and that's going to bring us up to the height of the top of those. And it's going to sort of cap this floor. So yeah, that's the next step. And then the base foundation for the ground floor will be done. Woohoo! Here's what remains from the original X Mansion build. It would have been nice to keep it intact, but we had to salvage parts from the roof and the walls, but hey, all the mini builds are all still intact. So you've got the danger room, the elevator in the center with the lab, and then there's a little bedroom right there. This is like a study, I guess, like a classroom, and there's a little bookcase there. The main entrance with the entrance to the elevator and the X logo. Also, the other part of the danger room. You see how they did the danger room? How some of these panels were just like snot bricked in there? Well, I think that's how we're going to do our danger room. I didn't really want to build an exterior wall that looks like this because it doesn't really match the vibe of the X Mansion. Like if we were to build it like that, then 2 walls, the back wall of that section and the side wall would be like light bluish gray, dark bluish gray, and it wouldn't really match the look. So I think we're gonna like snot brick panels inside, and those will be able to be removed. But unfortunately, you're gonna see the backside of plates, similar to what you saw in this window when you look in the window. So I guess it'll be a compromise. But once again, we could build Cerebro and the danger room in a mountain below, but that's just a big project that blows this up to an even bigger project. So I think trying to contain it within this building is what we're going to try and strive for, because that sort of captures the essence of the original. Like this is a big structure and we do have lots of space inside to create those different things. Like we could do the danger room right here. Sure, you might see the backside of plate. If the plates are mounted in there, it is what it is. I don't think it needs to span 2 floors because I think we'd rather jam more into our model, and plus we have way more surface area to work with in there, so we can create a pretty cool danger room. And once again, that mills work is a little bit lower in that area. And we could do the same thing for Cerebro over here in this section, so I think that would be really cool. Then of course we could have like the entrance here, and our hallways are really quite wide, so we could actually separate the hallways and create a room within the hallways. So we could do like 1, 2, 3, 4 rooms in the hallways. And there could be a central room, and these sections could be split into rooms as well. So we could have multiple classrooms, multiple bedrooms, a big danger room, a big Cerebro, and I think we'd be able to accommodate most things in here. Does that mean that we won't shift gears in the future and build a hangar below a tennis court or whatever it is, or a basketball court or whatever it is, and have like a big grand entrance to the mansion and have it built up on a mountain? I mean, anything's possible, right? Anything's possible. We could always do that in the future. But for now, I think we're going to just take some of these mini builds, transplant them into this model, come up with our own mini builds, and give this a full interior. And also, you know, make an epic danger room and a way better Cerebro than the original model. Now, I really don't know if this thing needs to be any larger. Of course, we could add another floor, but I'm pretty happy with the scale of it. Like, it is just gigantic, and I think we can fit up to 12 rooms in here with hallways, which is pretty sweet. We're gonna have to do some part swapping, like I've been mentioning, but what's interesting about the way that I built it is these panels, they can all be removed. Like the bottom floor is all panels pretty much, like towers of masonry. And I'm gonna have to make some part substitutions up top here too, because I think I like the all masonry look better. Now, the only thing that I'm not too sure about in regards to the scale is the cupola up top. I believe that's what it's called, like the dome. Originally, I made it actually 4 studs larger in the center. So right now it's only 2 with the telescopes. Maybe I need to make it 4 because it actually does look pretty small up there. So I might have to increase that by 2 studs in either direction. So like 2 studs on the orange part on this side and that side, and then 2 studs right here. So change those 2 telescope elements to a fence piece. Another thing that I could do is I could add another row of white brick there to increase the height of it, but it does look pretty tiny up there, so I'll probably have to address that, come up with a different solution there. Of course, I've got to pop all my windows in, and we've got to swap out all those windows. But yeah, we can fit 12 rooms in this thing, which is pretty amazing. And then, of course, we've got to make the grounds for it as well. Out front, wherever it sits in the city, it for sure needs probably another base plate in front of it just for the grounds and driveway pull-in and all that. Now, a couple other things that the model currently doesn't feature is some of the play features that this model had. Also, the added detail of the elevator. So I'm going to just replicate this elevator throughout the 2 floors. That should be fairly straightforward. And also things like sliding doors into the danger room. Obviously, when we go about developing the different areas, we're going to add details like that. It's just a base structure for right now. I hope all these floors are pushed together, but as always, there's lots to think about, lots to consider, and lots of changes that could be made to the model. But I really like the construction of it so far. I'm having a blast with it. I'm really happy that we were able to get the base foundation created, and everything is still working like it should with it being modular and all that. So that's a bonus, and sometimes things fall off it if you're a little bit aggressive. Yeah, but pretty sweet, everybody. I'm excited about the next update because, of course, we're going to start working on the grounds out front of this, like just detailing all of these studs, and we're going to start adding some interior details as well, which should be pretty sweet. I'm going to have to get some inspiration for the Cerebro, though. I didn't get the GWP that came out with this extremely expensive set. When I was at the Lego store the other day, I was looking at it, I was like, ooh, wow, it's pretty pricey. But yeah, those things like to fall off, but that's just the nature of Lego. Maybe I should have added some more points of connection, and that's something I could address in the future as well, but I'm not going to refilm it because that's just the reality right there. Thank you so much for coming on by. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Farewell.